Good morning. I just wanted to reach out to y'all, after my last conversation. What is the difference between spiritual awakening and madness? One can follow the other. You can be in your madness and have a spiritual awakening. You can also be in your sobriety and have a spiritual awakening. But one thing that happens is that there's a level of change that occurs in a spiritual awakening that does not occur in madness. Madness is continuing to walk the same path, doing the exact same things to achieve results that you believe will be different. But once you've run an experiment enough times and to truly test a hypothesis, you have to have repeatability. So if you predict this is going to happen, and it does, then you have correctly done the science. If you suspect something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, you get a strange response, you've correctly done science. If you repeat the experiment and you get the same results, you have discovered something. The strange ways of heaven and earth, or hell and earth, or heaven, hell, and purgatory, whatever you want to, whatever system of understanding you want for that, you can have it. Even if you believe there's nothing but the energy of the universe, you have to acknowledge results. You have to. Because the experiment will continue running. The simulation will continue running you through until you agree to what you are finding. And if you can't repeat the work and get the same results, well, then your conclusion's wrong. And it's time for you to ask a better question. But there's a lot of questions and a lot of models that have already been explored. And so we know those answers. But yet, many of us seek to confirm the science, to rerun those experiments. When you're awakened, and this includes myself, you can no longer run the same experiment. Once you understand the rules that govern your physics, and I say this as an individual's physics, then you have knowledge about the self and your rules. And when you violate those rules, then you find yourself suffering. And when you don't violate those rules, you can find yourself suffering because you understand the self. And the world requires collaboration. Right? It's catch-22. Why is it like that? How else could it be? Could it be differently? Could you make choices that have no consequences? What is the point of that? If there is no consequence to your action, you're a ghost. If there's no consequences to things, whether it's cause and effect or, random theory. Pardon me, I gotta tie my shoe. I don't want to trip. You just gotta... There's no feedback on the experiment if you don't have consequences. Then nothing. Yeah, I guess that's it. Then nothing. Do you want nothing? No existence? Do you want to not see anymore? Do you want to not feel anymore? I mean, detachment is the way, but also attachment is the way. To detach from something is to reduce its significance so that you do not become unanchored from yourself. And that has value, but to be attached is to be a part of something larger than yourself. Yourself becomes increased, right? The more that I am increased, the more I contain. I don't think you can truly achieve pure detachment anyhow. Because if you are attached to detaching, right? Like if your definition is detachment, like, oh, I can't let anything pull me. I can't let anything hold me. I can't let anything work for me or against me. I cannot hold on to the outcomes of these things or the consequences of these things. I cannot hold on to accountability. It's like non-duality. Well, if there's non-duality, how do you know yourself? And the more that eventually you have to find a place to stand, sit, be. My agenda doesn't have to be your agenda, but where they align, our agendas can work together for a time. Where places, non-detachment is a valuable thing when you don't want to be pulled into someone else's conflict. When you see people harming themselves, you don't want to be pulled into engaging in harm. When you tell people who you are and they aren't listening to you, but they also don't want who you are in the room with them, don't become so attached to being needed to be around that you remain in places where you are no longer wanted. Or accept that you are wanting to be there and whatever that is going on is yours too. This is what taking responsibility and breathing your own breath means. Like, when I love to breathe breath in community, to share essence with others. That's what yoga is, bonding and breath. All right? We move and we breathe, or we sit and we breathe, or we have conversations, and that is breathing, and we listen and we speak. Yoga is not a series of poses. Faith is not something that is, it's something committed to. What is so, in yoga there's the eightfold path. Buddhism have something similar. Christianity, the way. Islam, there is always a thing that is calling to our hearts to attach, to care, to commit, to learn, to be flexible but have strength. Strength is I am strong in every position, not I am strong in two axes. If I have weakness in movement, then that is a place of movement that I need to engage in more. And the more directions that I move in, the more strength I have in many directions. It allows me to absorb pressure and transmit it to where the pressure can be handled. The fluidity of our understanding of the world, the flexibility, the compassion that we can have for others is enormous. And the thing that becomes rigid, the thing that becomes so hardened to everything around it, it creates a brittleness that means that when pressure is applied from a direction you are unprepared for, you break. That's why swords have to flex. The sword of truth weaves around deception. Yeah. Truth gives way to understanding. Truth sets you free. How does the truth set you free? Well, once you understand your own sovereignty, the power in owning your choices, then you can own the lessons. If I have no power in my choices, then my choices have power over me. To love oneself so deeply that you understand your motivations and can sculpt your choices to fit those in a way that is collaborative with the world means that you can stand strong against any onslaught. I have a saying, if you are unique, it requires strength to survive. If my pain and your pain cannot have correlation, if my suffering and your suffering cannot have an understanding, then we are alone and must get tougher. Right? But a weakness shared is a strength gained. Sometimes we can receive so many messages. We can be so open to the things around us that we lose our integrity, our self-cohesion. But in losing that cohesion, sometimes we can find ourselves. Why is everything a paradox? Why is everything such reverse twins? I'm legitimately asking that question and I'm contemplating it. This morning we were reading scripture. I was meeting with a group of men. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and maybe means you need to convince me. But if your maybe means no, you are sending confused messages. And confused messages lead to confusing results. But I have been a lot of yes in my life. Because the thing I wanted was understanding. I wanted to create a linkage between my pain and suffering and others because I had a lot of judgment. I thought that the only way to live was the way that I believed we should live. And while that may be true for who I am, that is not true for all. Why? Why? Because there's so many of us. But really, we eat when we're hungry. We enjoy abundance when it arrives. And when abundance arrives, the challenge is no longer how to defeat your hunger. The challenge is how to not be consumed by your abundance. All things are possible, but not all things are good for us. There are many pleasures in the world, but one cannot become so enamored with them that they lose themselves. See, I am wandering a path that I have walked many times, but I am walking it in a direction that I have not walked it the same. The fates that we hold to can be illusions. The chains and the slaveries that we choose can be shaken off when we choose new masters. You know, I'm feeling very full right now. And I could go back and eat more because I like the flavor of things, because I want to continue tasting things. But that's ignoring my sense of satiety. And enjoying your satiety is just as important as enjoying your hunger. I'm seeing if there's anything more that I need to cover right now, or should I just enjoy walking in silence with my mouth shut and my nose breathing in. This isn't nature. I am on a path because I respect where the wild things need to be. And they have paths. All right, shining ones. I love you. I've always been in love with you. You have done the work, and you are doing the work. And the paradoxes are distractions. There's one God. And God finds us. And our job is to not leave early. So if you are contemplating, why is this weight so heavy? Why is this life so much? Detach not from yourself, but from the weight. Detach not from yourself, but from the weight. Reach out to another and ask them to carry it with you. And if that person will not carry it with you, then don't carry it. Quit looking for people to take responsibility for things that they won't take responsibility for. And when you take up the pack, when you take up the cross, or when you take up the work, you can put it down. Christ was not always available to people. There were times where he had to go out and be cleared from their noise. And then, even then, he was assailed. And that is enough. There's no auspicious numbers here. I'm just done.